Hello and welcome to the Playing Arts Podcast, where we put the spotlight on artists in our community. I'm your host, Andy Needham, and this week I'm joined by Fesq, an artist hailing from Brazil with a very distinct style and colour palette. Fesq created the 5 of Diamonds in the Playing Arts Crypto Edition, and as well as discussing his card, I'm looking forward to learning more about his work, process, and recent project for Nissan. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Fesq. How you doing?
Hey buddy, how's it going? Doing good. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm glad we made it. We've been talking about doing the podcast for a while. So and finally the dates synced up. So I'm happy to have you here, man. So
yeah, happy to be here. It was a little bit hard to sync up the dates, but we finally got it.
Yeah, we made it. All right. So where do you want to start? We can go back to, because you've been doing. Do you want to go to crypto and stuff like that? How you got?
I don't know. Maybe doing a little bit of an overview. I don't know. I've been doing digital art for 5 years now. I started back.
This would be great.
Yeah. I started back in the day when I found out about Beeple. Like as pretty much many of us found out about the god of everydays. It was pretty interesting because as soon as I got to the website and I found out about his work, I was interested because every single one of his pieces had like hashtag Cinema4D in the bottom on his website. I was like, what the hell is Cinema4D, So now I went into the rabbit hole of 3D art, and after like 6 months just doing some experiments on my own, I was sitting on like my couch and I was like, wow, I should post this online just like people, So I started back on Tumblr. So I actually have over 200 posts only on Tumblr before I migrated into. So yeah, my Tumblr is some pretty obscure, dark, older stuff that no one knows about. Then I went into Instagram and started posting more and more. At the time, I was in college for software engineering, right? So that was a pretty miserable time because I was in college for software engineering. I had an internship. I was a private teacher at the time. And on top of it all, I was doing like 3D art whenever I could and posting like 5 times a week because I couldn't do every day at the time. It was maybe a lot. So I was posting like 5 times a day. And everything changed when I met Beeple. Like he came down here in Brazil for an event. I met with the guy. It was like one of the most amazing nights of my life because it felt like a full circle moment. I started into 3D art because of him. I finally met him. And right before I say goodbye, he was like, dude, I challenge you to do 100 days of every days. And I was like,
you got that challenge.
I got that challenge. Yeah.
Is it the one where he gives you 100? What was it? It was some monetary motivation to do it, right?
No, not at all. He was like, dude, I challenge you to do 100 days of every days. And after this, we can do a Skype call, a Zoom call, and we can just chat about art. And I was like, Jesus Christ. It's the god of every day. I cannot refuse this challenge. So, right, I started doing every days for 100 days. And after I finished, he requested a call. He was like, dude, let's hop on a call. We did another call. We chatted for over an hour. And by the end of the call, he was like, dude, I challenge you to do a year of every days. And I was like, for fuck's sake. So I did it, but I do not regret it. Like those every days changed my career because it was during a time on Instagram that the algorithm wasn't shit how it is these days. So I was able to get some traction, get some client work, and get my career going because of that challenge. So yeah, dude changed my life twice. Once because I got into art because of him, and the other one because he challenged me to push myself to the limits a little bit.
Wow. I mean, that's always a good thing, really, to be pushed. And, I remember, even back in school, I had an art teacher that would be, constantly kind of like pushing you to do that. And you may kind of like disagree or whatever and have a little, back and forth. But like, yeah, he said to me, this was, back in, I don't know, I was in 6th form at school. And he said, come and do a self-portrait every day. There was like these stacks of wood that were just offcuts. So I would come in every morning, pick a piece of wood, do a self-portrait, and that was it. Because I was into like Lucian Freud and that kind of, style. So I was like laying it on real thick and just kind of, doing that. But it builds a muscle memory, and that's and you become just a lot faster. And before, I was getting the picture almost, kind of like outlines done, but by the end I'm like finishing the picture, finishing the portrait and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's so during this time, were you developing the kind of iconic color palette that you have now?
Yeah, kind of. Like, this color palette is actually kind of funny because I'm colorblind. Like, I'm due-tone colorblind, but not that much. Like, every time that I say that I'm colorblind, people freak out. It's not that much. It's mild colorblindness. But like, because of my colorblindness, I can really distinct red and blue because like they're kind of extremes, RGB. But because I work with 3D, the red casts lights and the blue casts lights, and you get purple. So like, the purple in my work became like a signature kind of because of me just trying to work with colors that I was able to see, So by mixing red and blue, I got a little bit of purple and I got used to it. But yeah, it's funny because I'm kind of known for my color palette, and that color palette came because I'm colorblind. But yeah, it's a funny story.
That's amazing, actually. Just kind of like turning that into such a positive as well. I'm like you say, it's not like bad colorblind, whatever. I don't know what what it is, but that's awesome. I think, and it's you, So yeah,
exactly.
That's cool. So when do you want to talk about your process? Because you use 3D, you're using Cinema 4D. You're assuming you're not using the standard and physical renderer. No. You're using something more powerful than that. So are you, how do you begin a piece?
Yeah, well, during the time that I was doing every days, it was pretty much like open Cinema 4D and do something, And sometimes it's a little bit hard because you don't have that much inspiration when it comes to every days. But during those times when I were in a creative block or something like that, I started each piece with the approach of I want to learn something new. So I tried to mess around with some settings that I never messed around before, and that use it to develop into a piece during the times of every days. So like, my process for a quick piece is kind of like that. Let's learn something new. But when it comes to like more robust bodies of work, there's a whole step of concepting, preparation, and like research, and then getting into the actual production of the pieces.
Okay. So am I in the right area here for the everydays? Is this the sort of...
Yeah, these are the shitty everydays. Okay, we can go over some of them.
Okay. Yeah, because I can see, there's themes that you have like that are carried through, the skulls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk through some of these?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this Baby Yoda is straight crap.
Really old.
Really damn old. It was one of those days that I was like, Jesus Christ, I have no ideas. I need to come up with something. But like, for example, these black and white and colorful pieces, like go up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. This one that has a hole in the face. I don't know. Maybe it's a hole in the face and it has some color. Yeah. This one. I was basically experimenting with Colorama. It's an effect from After Effects. So I was getting a bunch of textures and messing around with Colorama, and that came up because I was just trying to mess around with some new setting, and that became one of the everydays. So as you can see, like, a lot of the everydays is just me messing around and trying to learn new shit,
Yeah.
So it's really, really different than my current body of work, in which like I take weeks to create a piece and stuff like that.
So were you were you keeping? I mean, this is cool. That's really cool.
People liked that one. Oh, you can see there.
Like, there you go.
Yeah. There you go. That's my flex, my huge flex.
Yeah, no, well, that's good to see. He's keeping tabs on you, you know. So this was, what is this, day 53, or is that?
No, not at all. Like, this is actually a funny thing. When I started back on Tumblr, I decided to subdivide my projects into seasons. So you have like, each season has 200 posts. So that was season 4, post 45. So season 4, you have already like 800 posts, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm not that good at math. So you have like 800 posts and then like the 54th one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, we can see now that you are, the color palette's coming through, and some of these themes and stuff. So, you know, why do you choose this particular kind of like imagery, I guess? Like, in fact, I want to jump over to here because we've got quite a few of your more recent works, maybe. I mean, you know, like this double-sided one. This is pretty cool. Like,
yep. Thank you, man.
There's a lot going on here, which I enjoy. And we kind of use this for the artwork for this piece.
Yes, I love this piece. Yeah. Actually, this is my only 101 available right now. All the other ones, yeah. I minted this last week on Foundation. I minted actually the animation. This is the static one. I have a full animation on that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that. I have seen that. So that's not only do you produce static, you also do animations as well. And I mean, do you lean more to one side or the other? Do you prefer just animating, or?
For the longest time, I used it to do static pieces because my computer was straight up trash, garbage. Like, I started on a notebook with like 4 gigabytes of RAM. And, you know, I used it to need to delete the geometry inside the DAS models so I could like render a little bit better without the computer chugging. So that's where I came from, you know? So during the longest time, I couldn't animate because I didn't have the hardware for it. Now I'm fine with a proper fucking computer, so I'm starting to animate more and more. But it really depends. Like, some pieces need to be static, and others it leans more towards the animation.
Yeah, and do you decide that at what point do you decide that? You know, is it before you even begin? You're like, I'm going to do an animation, or you get through the process and you're like, do you know what? This doesn't need any motion. How do you determine that?
Yeah, it really depends. Like, some pieces I start with motion in mind, right? So I structure it properly for motion. But like the double-sided piece that you pointed out, it started as a static one. And then I was like, if I rotate these flowers and add some animation, could be really damn cool. And I use this to kind of tell a story. So like, if you play the animated one, the whole theme of the piece is double-sided. It's the conflict between like tech and nature, and my conflict when I was a programmer, because I was like basically divided into programming and doing art. So like, I used the piece and the animation to tell a story of like the divisions, and even the sound design has something to do with it. You can hear electronic sounds and birds chiming in the background because I wanted to bring the contrast. So it really depends. In that case, I started with a static piece, but the animation kind of brought that piece to a whole other level, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also, you know, I feel, you know, now you mentioned sound as well, that just adds a whole other dimension to the experience of kind of viewing the piece as well. Do you create the music and sound to yourself?
No, not at all. Actually, that's another funny story. Like, my sound designer lives in Chile, and I met him like 4 years ago when I was just starting. He was actually one of my first freelance projects. Like, he hired me back in the day for an artwork, and we kept working together. And as I came into the NFT space, I was like, dude, do my sound design, and I can pay you like a percentage of the piece. So like, now he does all my sound design. I've got hit by some other producers like wanting to work with me, but like I've been working with this guy for 4 years. I love him. He became a friend, so he does all my sound design. I'm pretty damn happy with it.
That's so cool to have a collaborator like that, you know. And it's it kind of like, in a way, you know, the sound and the picture, the visual, they kind of like, you know, it becomes this
Yes.
synchronous kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Yes. And the thing is, I do all his visuals as well, so it's like an exchange, you know.
That's cool. Yeah. So a real collaboration. Do you collaborate with anybody else, you know?
Yeah. Like I've worked for the music industry for like a year and a half. I've done countless of album artworks, countless of visualizers, like the soul-sucking type of projects, you know, working with like, sometimes working directly with the artist. I don't know. I wasn't that happy working with the music industry because most of the times I was pretty much executing a project, you know. Barely none of the people hiring me actually wanted me for the artistic vision and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I do not collaborate that much with musicians as of now. I have some collaborations in the background that I cannot talk about much. But yeah, now with the NFT space, kind of now, the quote unquote, we have a price tag on our work. I feel that musicians are respecting us more and more for our vision instead of just simply executing a project, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Going back then to, how long have you been doing NFTs for?
Oh, it's been over a year. Like, I minted my first piece on non-origin back in November. It hasn't been a year since my first mint, but it's been more than a year since I've been on the NFT space. Because like I got into the NFT space primarily on Twitter, and I hung around for 2 months before actually minting my first piece, because I feel that a lot of artists rush this part. Like they come to the NFT space and they want to mint like as fast as they can. So I really wanted to digest the information and understand the community, understand the flow and the market before I started to mint. So it's been a year and 2 months.
How were you going about that learning process then? What were you doing?
I just listening, man. Like for the first 2 or 3 months, I used to reach out to a lot of artists and people in the space, and I was like, dude, I'm a noob. I don't know shit. Like, I don't even know what MetaMask is. Please teach me. And I was kind of like blessed that no one tried to scam me, you know? And everyone actually kind of taught me everything that I needed to know. I had like a little bit of luck that many of my friends from Instagram started coming into the NFT space. Some a little bit earlier than me, like Nest Graphics, Euphoria. So like they were all friends, and I could like message them, and like, so everyone tried to help me when I was getting started. But I don't know, that was my process, and I suggest every single artist coming into the space to do the same. Like, try to reach out to other artists and learn with them, understand the process and the market before jumping in and minting a bunch of pieces and going mayhem, you know?
Yeah, and that's something that people listening to this podcast can do. They can come and join the Playing Arts Discord. We're trying to focus on, you know, bringing new and upcoming artists and even traditional artists who don't have any knowledge of NFTs and crypto to kind of come in, and we will sort of help with that. And so there is, there's a whole thing for that right here in the Discord. So good that you brought that up, actually. But yeah, I think that's a very good point, and a very, you know, because you want to try and sort of, if you dive in just straight away, then you're probably going to make some mistakes. Yeah. It could be like, you know, chilling and doing all that kind of stuff, or just getting hacked, you know, because you don't have that education. And there's a lot of things that to kind of consider beyond just creating the art.
Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, and if your art is there and it's good to go, then you know, you've got no worries. You've got no worries. Spend a bit of time just learning. And if it's not good to go, then do some everydays and get that art ready while learning about it. And then it's all just happens at the same time. It's all, I think the timelines sync up. So yeah. I mean, you talked about the when you were back doing everydays and stuff, and I haven't ever gone down that route. I think I should. I think it's just such a good exercise, but I think I'd end up probably overworking a piece or something like that. Did you ever kind of have I don't know if I should put this out or whatever,
a bunch of them, like that Baby Yoda one straight sucks, you know. I'm not happy with it, but it wasn't every day. Like, so at least with it, I tried to be funny and to have a good time. But I think that's the nature of every day. It is important to show up every day and do something, and not as much like progress of do a masterpiece every single day. And of course, out of like a year of every days, there are some pieces that I'm really proud of, and some pieces that I minted and I sold it. And then, it's really interesting how like the pieces can vary that much. You can go from straight garbage to quote unquote masterpiece really damn fast.
Yeah, and that's a very good point as well. And also, I think you have this kind of back catalogue of experiments that you can go through and say, well, that part worked, and I like that part, and then maybe you do a fusion of something, and you know, then you do have this masterpiece out of some other ones. But like, I gotta just commend you for doing that, man. That's just totally awesome. But you know, people challenged you, so
if it wasn't for people, I probably wouldn't do this. Like, it's a lot of work. It was probably my most miserable time in my life. Like, in terms of work, I was extremely overworked. Like, it was insane. Because I was in college at the time, doing internships, waking up 5 a.m., sleeping like 1 a.m. was terrible. But
that's brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal. I know. But I don't regret it. Like, it was worth it to go through that time. It makes me value a little bit more the privilege that I have today not to work like an insane bastard like I used to do those times, you know?
Yeah. It's given you that freedom then to really pick and choose the projects that you want to take on that are kind of worth your time.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to talk to you about one of your recent ones, actually. Maybe we can go there now because I think this is something that our audience would like to hear more about as well. It's the recent work that you did for Nissan. And I'm going to get the website up just so we've got a visual here.
Perfect.
So the Kicks XPlay project.
Yep.
And so do you want to talk us through this is cool because this is what the NFT that comes with the car.
Yeah.
I'll let you I'll just sort of scroll through these visuals a bit, and this back behind the scenes video is pretty cool. People can kind of come onto Fesq's website and play that through. But do you want to just talk us through that project and how it all kind of came to be?
Yeah, 100%. So like at the beginning of the year, around March, I had the amazing opportunity to go to national television, like prime time, like Sunday night, national television, and talk about NFTs. Was like, I was interviewed for one of the biggest shows down here in Brazil. It was a super quick interview, like 30 seconds. I was on TV for 30 seconds, but that was enough to receive like hundreds of emails. It was crazy. And at the time, I was like, a bunch of companies reach out to me. And that was the time that no one actually knew what to do with NFTs. So a bunch of companies reach out. All of them wanted to do like an auction and a collaboration and grab the money from the auction and donate to charity. And I mean, it's all good, but I don't know. It seems like a shallow use of NFTs, like from a company. It seems to me that the company only wants to do this to say that they are doing NFTs and they are like on the top of the game. So a few months come by and I was approached by Nissan, and like the approach was completely different. I was like, oh my God, they wanted to do an auction. Let's see what they want to do. I was expecting an auction, but it was like, no, We want to use the technology in the way that the technology was meant to be used, in a good use case. So we have a limited edition car in the real world, and you want to translate this limited edition feeling to the digital world as well. And we want to use NFTs because we understand that the NFTs are the technology that will enable us to do that. And you being an NFT artist in the space and known in Brazil and the Latin America as a whole, we want you on board of the project to do the artwork. And I was like, that's it. That's a project that's actually using NFTs in a good way, not an auction and calling it a day, you know? So I was pretty damn happy with their approach. They listened to me from one end to the project to the end. Like, they listened to all my concerns, all my like suggestions. It's an amazing project to work on. Like, it was a lot of hard work. I'm not gonna lie. Like recording all the short film. It's not a short film. It's like more like commercial. That commercial and doing the artwork. The deadline was pretty damn tight, so it was pretty stressful. But overall, the project was pretty fun and super aligned with what I imagine it would be a good use case for NFTs.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what you ended up creating that goes alongside the car. And so do you want to just talk through the piece?
Yeah, 100%. So I had the opportunity to meet with John Sanz. He's like the head of design for the whole Latin America when it comes to Nissan. And we were talking a lot about like how we create our pieces and how he sketches the design of the cars. So this whole conversation kind of made me think about the creation process of a car, of like how a creation process will be in the future. That was the main driver for this artwork. So it's like, let's grab that, extrapolate that to a surreal type of environment. So I created this piece. It's interesting because like this whole landscape style of render, I used to do this a lot when I did everydays. And it's been a while since I've done one of those. So it's interesting that I was able to go back a little bit, work with a theme and a style that I haven't been working on for months.
Yeah, and that's interesting that it came from those days, the everydays. And yeah. So this is like how this is like how a car would be designed in the future, sort of thing. You know, it's all.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah. It's pretty cool the way it's kind of projected and stuff. But yeah, that's I think that's a really cool use of it. And I think everyone, go and check out the behind the scenes if you haven't already. So, okay. Yeah, and wait. So that process, you said it was a fast turnaround, but end to end, how long did that last? Because you've only just been able to talk about it. So.
Yeah, right. So for the recording of the video, I had to fly to Uruguay because the production company was in Uruguay. I live in Brazil, for those that don't know, and that was kind of interesting because the whole production process was so rushed. You know, like the deadlines with those productions are insane. You know, they move real damn quick, and I'm not used to it. I've never been on a production set like that. So I flew to Uruguay without knowing what the hell I was getting into. It was damn crazy. I know that it was Nissan. I checked if the company was actually behind it. I don't know if someone's going to steal my organs or shit like that. So I flew to Uruguay and I got like a checklist of stuff that I needed to do, and the whole shooting was a single night. Like I got into the set around noon, and I left the set around 3 a.m., something like that. It was crazy. I got to the hotel, I slept 2 hours, and then got in a flight back to Brazil. It was super, yeah, it was insane. It was super tight deadlines. And then when I got to Brazil, I actually started working on the artwork. And the process, I did that artwork in 4 days, maybe. It was kind of rushed. It was a pretty tight deadline, but I was really happy with it.
Wow. Yeah, actually just had to crank it out.
Yeah.
when you're, when you're having a kind of, I don't know, maybe we just talk about what inspires you. Is there something that you do to when you're not feeling, not just feeling it, like there's because everyone gets a bit of creative block or whatever, but like how do you kind of get over that for yourself?
Yeah, as I've mentioned, my main way to get off creative blocks is just to try to learn something new. So if I'm on a creative block, I don't know. I download the trial for a program, I download a plugin, or like I mess around with a section of Cinema 4D that I never used before. And usually those types of interactions turn out to be a happy accident, and that develops into a piece. But then I'm talking about the not superficial, but like, because the way that I see my work, I have pieces that are superficial, they're kind of like in the moment type of pieces, and I have pieces that are more like in depth pieces that I sit down, I work on a concept, and like those take a lot of more time. So like for these superficial pieces, pretty straightforward, just go for like trying to learn something new, and boom, you have a piece. But when it comes to like the more in-depth ones, there's no way around a creative block for that. Since you need to kind of develop a concept and work on it, it's pretty hard to get over a creative block on that line. I don't know if it makes any sense.
No, I get that, but so you kind of force yourself to be at the computer kind of thing, or do you do any other outlets?
I basically force myself, open Cinema 4D and go for it. But again, like when it comes to developing a concept, opening Cinema 4D won't help. So I try to play some games, watch a movie. My best ideas came to me when I was like laying on my bed listening to music. It wasn't like trying to force myself to do a piece. It works, but then it will result into a superficial piece. It won't result into a more in-depth one, which there's nothing wrong with a superficial piece. I love doing that. But once again, the far majority of pieces that I mint are the ones that I go in depth, that I kind of take weeks to work on it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the timeline of the ones that you're kind of most proud of. You actually go quite deep on them. Yeah, they take weeks. They take weeks, and in that time, are you just working on one piece solely, or like tunnel vision, or do you spread it out?
Not at all. I'm terrible. I work on a bunch of stuff at the same time. Thank God I have a good time management. But then I posted a meme one of those days. Like I'm always taking new projects in and working on different stuff. So like I have a background on software engineering and business a little bit. So I'm working on like the business sides of NFTs, helping companies navigate the NFT space as well. That's one thing that I do. I have a bunch of side projects when it comes to art. So I have a short film in the background. I have a collection that is going for Tezos on the next years that has a whole different style than my style on ETH. And that's another section that I'm working on. So I usually have 5 or 6 projects, huge projects going on at the same time. So while a single piece can take weeks, I'm hardly ever working only on the piece. I'm always jumping around into different pieces and projects. And I think that that's the most productive and better way to get inspiration, because as you work on a project, you can get inspiration for the other one. You can learn something in one and apply it into the other. It's always a nice mix.
Okay. So with all those things going on and knowing the fact that you worked so hard in the past and it sounded like there was burnout there, how are you avoiding that? Because you've mentioned time management. What are you doing? How strict with yourself are you to just kind of...
I don't know, man. Like, as I mentioned before, the time that I was working like crazy in the past was so damn extreme that nowadays working 12 hours a day it's okay. It's not that much. You know, when I used to work 16 fucking hours a day, like 12 hours seems okay, you know? So I still know that it's a lot. I work a lot. All my friends call me straight up lunatic for working that much. But like, it's the way that I live. You know, I like what I do. I like working on it. For me, it causes me the most harm not to work than actually work. But then it's important to note mental health and physical health are important aspects. So while I work a lot, I exercise as well every single day and stuff like that. So I always try to find time to manage those other aspects too.
Yeah. So what are you doing for exercise?
Oh,
Running?
no, not at all. I do Pilates. I don't know if that's the translation. Yeah, it's pretty interesting because here in Brazil, it's really common for old people. So I do Pilates with a bunch of old ladies, and it's fucking amazing. Dude, I love that shit because it's exercise, but it's really focused on like stretching and other type of muscles that we sit on a chair the whole day. So stretching and this other type of exercise helps me a lot not to feel back pain and stuff like that. So yeah, it's commonly for old people in Brazil, but I love it.
That's so funny. So are you on a beach doing this or
No. I'm not on a studio. I don't have the balls.
Cool.
I don't have the balls to go to a beach and do Pilates. You know?
That'd be a fun scene. All right. So there's a exercise. You've mentioned mental health, and I know that you do another. It's another podcast with the Heal the Deal. Could you want to talk about that and also, you know, the mental health side as well? That'd be, I think, quite interesting.
Yeah, sure. So basically, for those that don't know, Malavira is an amazing artist in this space. She does more abstract work, and her whole theme around her work is basically mental health and mental struggles. And during around January, I was feeling a little bit down with comparing myself to other artists and all those type of anxieties that a lot of new artists to the space and even old artists feel as well. And she released at that time the Heal the Deal project. It was her first drop on Nifty Gateway, and the whole theme around it was mental health. So I tweeted at her, "Oh my God, I love the theme around this drop. It matches a lot with what I'm feeling right now." And she was like, "Oh, great. Like, I'm happy that you resonate with it." And I don't know, 2 days later, I posted a rather depressed tweet and she replied to it. So, "Oh, do you want to chat about it?" And Nest Graphics jumped on the thread as well. "Oh, I'm feeling down a little bit. Let's chat." So we opened a Clubhouse back in the day, you know, Clubhouse room. And I don't know, dude, we had 200 people from the NFT space on that room back in the day talking about mental health. We got so many DMs from people saying that the room was super helpful, that we're all feeling that way. So I don't know, since that day, I've become friends with Alicia Malavira. I was already friends with Ness, but we became more friends. And I basically help her every week carrying over the project. So there's a Twitch channel that we do live streams bi-weekly. I don't know if that's the right term. And we invite guests and just to talk about mental health, and that's basically it. It helps us a lot because we're basically chatting with other people about struggles. But it's interesting because we had a lot of artists in the space talk there, and it's always a vulnerable chat in which, like, because as an artist in the space, and you might agree with me, we see a lot of the super successful artists in the space, and when we say, "Oh, they do not have any problems or issues, like they are fine, like they're sitting on millions of dollars, they're super fine," which is not true. Like everyone goes through the same problems and issues, and we had some big artists in the space on the chat, and it was amazing to see their vulnerable side as well and talk about these things openly, you know.
Oh wow, that's cool. And so these are recorded? Are they?
Yeah,
they just go out live?
Yeah, they are recorded. If you go to YouTube and type "Heal the Deal," you'll probably find it. You can also go to Twitter, /Heal the Deal, and
Yeah.
you'll probably find all the links.
We've got the link up here for the Twitter, and people can jump on that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. I definitely feel that for sure. So, and there's obviously days when you just you feel it more than most. But like I've gone through that with my whole career in motion design, and that's when you see a piece that, and you just it's like, wow, that company or that designer, whatever's absolutely nailed it. And then you're like, and it's just, it either forces you to, level up or you can get a bit kind of down on it as well.
100%.
But I think one thing, in terms of the motion design is like what I always told myself was like, well, there's probably a team of people behind all of that. And, so that you're looking at the output going, it's beautiful, and I can appreciate it, but there's more than one pair of hands went into that. So
100%.
So I'm definitely going to take a look at that myself. I think I'd like to talk about your card a bit, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's jump over to, got the 5 of diamonds here, and this is this is one of those pieces where I guess, did you have the, did you think this is going to be animated from the outset, or did you just kind of decide I'm going to take some elements and, turn it into this loop?
No, I actually planned the animation. Like I first started this piece with the idea of alignment and aligning your thoughts. Like the name of the piece is alignment, but like the animation, I wanted to animate it, but I didn't know how, right? So after I came up with the main composition, the eyes were actually fixed to the head. So this was one of those stuff like, how can I try something that I never tried before? So I was like, I can use the diamond symbol to hide the vanishing point of the piece, and I can create an animation that I never tried before of these that bunch of eyes coming into the camera. So like I wanted to animate it, but I didn't know how. And during the process of creating the piece, I was like, I can try this that I never tried before, and it turned out pretty sick.
Yeah, that's so cool and very clever, hiding, using the sort of technique there just to work to your advantage. And we've got 5 symbols, the circles there at the top, and really cool, man. Really
Thank you.
Cool card. I think I remember my brother actually gave me this card.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah. He minted too. At the time, and I was like, oh. So what we do is like I'd given him his first NFT, and told him about the project and all that kind of stuff, and so he kind of knew I was like a fan of it, and he was like, I'll give you that one, and so I was like, I was stoked to get that. I like to ask this question because I admire so many artists in this project, and we can talk about like actually how you came on board as well. That would be kind of interesting, but think about this as well, like if there are any other cards that you are that are kind of jump out at you as well as your favorites, and we can go from there.
Straight up, Victor Vector, the number 3. It's 3 of, I don't know if, it's not. It's,
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't know Victor.
This is a firm favorite. Yeah,
I didn't know Victor Vector before, and I was amazed by his work. I was like, Jesus Christ, the animation's so well done, and there are so many things that I have no clue on how he did it. It was so amazing. Like this was a really pleasant surprise. Let me see. If you scroll down, there is like the king of, it's Vininazo's card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He became a friend. Like he's Brazilian as well. And he became a close friend on the NFT space. And then again, he's an artist with like a decade of experience with 3D, worked with Tendril. I don't know if you know the studio.
Oh, I know Tendril.
Yeah, he's been an art director on Tendril for like years. Now he's full freelance, but yeah. So it was like really good to become friends with him, because like dude is so knowledgeable and so talented when it comes to 3D. That's amazing.
So
and
good.
Audios is.
He has a. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just remember like I think you brought me onto it actually. Vinny had a drop yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Those pieces are amazing.
Dude,
so good.
These pieces are incredible. And the perks of being friends with him, like I've seen those pieces for months, you know? Because I was
that's interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So no, that's interesting that you kind of share. Do you share work with back and forth with other artists?
Yes, I do.
Just to kind of get opinion.
Yeah, yes, I do. And this is like one of the perks of the NFT space. Like I've became friends with so many talented artists, and it's always a pleasure to see some pieces like on the draft level, and then 2 months later on a Nifty Gateway drop or stuff like that, or then selling them super rare for like big money, you know. So it's always super interesting to have the opportunity to see the pieces developing.
Definitely. Yeah. And so, I mean, sorry, I jumped in while you were talking about, I think it was Odius's card, perhaps.
Yeah, Odious. Like, I love Odious' work, like pretty much everything that he does. It's amazing. So, like, this card was one of my favorites as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I kind of was pretty stoked to get this one too. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. And so we did sort of, I did want to know, like, how did you get to be involved in the project in the first place?
I think that Vlad emailed me like months ago.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. Like, I don't recall like being anything like super different than usual. He basically emailed me. The project was interesting. It was a company like, because I don't know, in the NFT space, we receive a lot of like sketchy emails, you know? So as soon as I researched the company, I was like, oh, thank God, it's a proper company, you know? It's not a scammer somewhere. So like, it was pretty interesting, but it was straight up an email, nothing like that crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because like I didn't actually have knowledge of the company myself to begin with, but then I saw the list of artists that were involved, and I was like, well, this is at first I was like, well, why me? But then I was like, well, I'll definitely bite the hand off to do this opportunity. This is amazing. So that's so cool. And I think you were very instrumental in the beginning on working to do spaces on Twitter and things like that, and that was kind of how I got to sort of know you a little bit through that. And so just talk us through, because do you do a lot of things like that,
spaces,
just sort of
I mean, most of the spaces that I've done or streams and stuff like that was with Hilde Deal and Malavira, but other than that, like, I mean, I've done a bunch of podcasts down here in Brazil. Once again, because of that good exposure that I had on television, bunch of emails, a bunch of podcasts. Like, it's always fun. And for me, doing podcasts in Portuguese, it's like, it's perfect. It's amazing. Like, English is not my native language, so there's always that extra effort to process everything, translate it, and then speak, So I like doing in English, but then when it comes to doing this stuff in Portuguese, I'm more at home, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I can't imagine. I don't really, apart from basic, like, German and French and stuff that you pick up at school, that the whole, speaking more than one language is just so impressive to me anyway. So yeah. And you're very easy to understand. So what do I know? Tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Yeah. It's how you're doing in Portuguese, right?
Yeah. I used to work with at a VFX place, and one of the owners was Brazilian. So
that's cool.
It's
What
Yeah.
name,
Anyway, yeah.
what's the name of the studio that you worked with?
It was called the brewery. Yeah.
The brewery. Oh, it's in São Paulo. It's another state, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
Or
they're
no?
based in they're based in London.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
So
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah.
Because this name is pretty
No,
familiar, and there are a lot of.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's pretty familiar. But there are a lot of nice studios in São Paulo. It's another state close to Rio de Janeiro, where I live.
Yep. Yeah. Very cool. Because I think the fact that what I was mentioning about kind of going on spaces and things like that, and all the things you're doing, it's kind of community building and being involved in that. Like, how important do you think that is for like NFT artists to kind of get into that?
That's everything, in my opinion. Like the connections that you make, like, I mean, 98% of all the opportunities that I had, it came to me because of someone that I knew before, and that's one thing that people sometimes confuses. Like, there's nothing wrong on networking and making connections as long as you're doing it in an organic way, So because I feel that a lot of artists come into the space and they hear our community, you need to network, you need to meet everyone. And sometimes people try too hard to meet other people, and trying too hard is not the way, in my opinion. Like, it's basically just like the real world. If you're building a relationship with someone in the internet, it's something that it's a slow process that happens over weeks and months, and until you build trust and maybe you work together with the person with in a project, in a collaboration. And that's another way for you to build more trust. And I don't know, maybe you two enjoy working together, and sometime 2 years later, this person will invite you to a cool project, For me, that's the way that networking and community building needs to be done. And in the NFT space, that's everything, in my opinion.
So community almost over the art itself.
I wouldn't say community over. Yeah, I wouldn't say community over the art. That's pretty strong. But I understand that artists in the NFT space needs to be multi-dimensional. Like, you need to be a good artist. You need to be like a good marketer. You need to understand the dynamics of the business, like the whole scarcity thing. Like, you want to do a drop, like, at least sit down and try to understand what's the best model that fits this drop and stuff like that. That counts a lot. And after everything that you've done, like, the community aspect of it will kind of help you bring this to a whole other level, in which if you have a community of people that likes you and you like them as well, they will probably help you like grow and market your stuff and get that to a whole other level. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh no, that does make sense. And there was something that you said back then. Dang, I had it. I was just picking up on something you said back then, and it was. It will come to me. It will come to me. Apologies for that. Yeah, no, I'll come back to that.
It was about community. Or it's about like marketing. I don't know.
I do want to talk to you about some of that stuff, actually, because you mentioned earlier about that you were working with like businesses to kind of get them into NFTs and that kind of thing. Obviously, we know with like Nissan and stuff, but this is another side to what you do. So how are you educating people, from that standpoint?
Oh, well, yeah. Basically, like, business don't know exactly what to do with NFTs because they do not understand the technology, right? So
do you think it's kind of like when websites were coming out and it's like, we need a website, but we don't know what a website is or where it should go, is it that kind of feeling?
Yeah, 100%. So like, this is not a big branch of my life right now because I simply don't have time, but like, I'm assisting one or two companies navigate everything. And it's basically understanding what the company does and how the technology can improve what the company does. And the thing is, many companies, they cannot use the technology in the state that it is right now. Like the gas fees, even though they go for another blockchain, the blockchain might be not mature enough for you to be sure that this will hold up for like 10 years and stuff like that. So in many cases, and for most companies, this is not the time to jump into the NFTs, you know? It's one of those cases of like understanding the technology, following along for maybe 1 or 2 years while you try to prepare yourself to adopt a business model that makes sense utilizing NFTs. But like, as of now, my job was pretty much like to instruct people and explain them the technology, and most of the times it's not the time to adopt the technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think, but it's just almost preparing people for when the time is right. And I think this is going to be a potential career for some people that can be a kind of strategist for people's companies' NFT, well, their kind of NFT strategy or something like that. And it would kind of go hand in hand with marketing and things like that, and how a company gets on to the blockchain and into crypto and all that stuff. So
100%.
Yeah, I think that's an emerging thing for sure.
And as an artist, like, I mean, I've been a freelance artist for like years now, like 3 years, but like, you always want to diversify your income per se. So like my income right now is not related to business and stuff like that, but that's something that, I don't know, maybe in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it will make sense. So like, it's important for me right now to at least have perspective that this could be a route that I can go. You never know. We can be hit by a bear market in 6 months and NFTs slow down by a lot. It's always important to have like some other avenues that you can pursue, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. There's, I often worry when people say, I just quit the job, now I'm doing NFTs full time. And that seems like, that worries me a little bit, you know, but to each their own. Are you a gamer at all? Do you have time for that?
Oh man, I've been a gamer when I was like 15. After like I got into college, I didn't have more time to play games, unfortunately. But I like them. Like nowadays, and when a good game launches, for example, like The Last of Us Part 2, 2 years ago, a year ago, I don't recall correctly. When that launched, I was like, okay, I'm blocking 4 days of my life only to play this game. After I beat it, then I can move on, you know? So nowadays, it's more like that. Okay, a new game launches, I block a few days with no client work, with no NFT stuff, only play that and then move on. But it's a shame because a lot of my friends, not art friends, but like regular world friends, they have a 9-to-5 job, and every day they're on Discord playing games, and I was like, I don't have time, unfortunately. But so it's a shame on that way. But nowadays I've only been gaming. I crunch games just like I crunch projects, pretty much.
So going into that kind of theme of gaming, and do you use any VR or anything like that? Do you even use VR in? So do you have a setup? And are you going to expand? Is that something that you are thinking of like putting into your work as well?
Yeah. So I have a VR headset. Unfortunately, I have the Rift S. Dude, it was really unfortunate. I bought this shit 1 week before Facebook discontinued the product. I was like, what the hell? Man. I bought it, and then 1 week later, Zuckerberg was like announcing the Quest 2 and discontinuing the Rift S. I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's not so outdated hardware, but it's not like that good, you know? I like it. I do.
Couldn't have taken it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Couldn't have taken it back? You couldn't have taken it back? Like,
no, dude, because that's the thing. Like in Brazil, this tech stuff is super expensive to a point that it's hard to find on regular stores because Brazil taxes technology so much. Like I paid more than $1,000 for this Rift S, when in the US it's like $300. You know, I paid more than $1,000 because Brazil taxes the hell out of it. You know, so like it's so expensive and it's so scarce that you have to buy on the quote unquote black market, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that's the downside of a third world country. You know, the cost of living is so small, but like this tech stuff is extremely expensive. So yeah, I couldn't return it. I'm stuck with it.
Oh man, no receipt for that kind of thing.
No, not at all.
Comes in a shopping bag.
Yeah, exactly. But
Right,
I don't have plans right now to use the technology in my work. I tried like VR sculpting, VR painting.
Yeah.
I suck at that. I cannot do anything with that shit. But I have plans to integrate like Unity and animations on VR environments in the future. But that's something that, to me, I wanted people to experience that. And the technology, especially down here in Brazil, is so damn expensive that I will build a whole experience, a whole art piece that 10 people will be able to see it, you know? So I'm waiting for the technology to mature so I can use the medium in a more efficient way.
That's a smart approach, I think, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of feeling towards metaverses? You know, have you actually had any experience in those?
Dude, I'm all for it. It's gonna happen at some point in the future. I think that the nerdy people like us will be there first, of course, because I don't see my mom or like my friends from college hopping on that, at least as of now. But I'm all for it. I had some amazing experiences on VR, like some amazing experience. I don't know if you know an artist called Porter Robson. He's a musician. Yeah, I can send you a link to his work. I love his music. Actually, it's because I shortened the story, but like I got into art because of Porter Robson. Like Porter Robson led me to Beeple, and Beeple led me to.
Oh wait, Paul Robson.
Porter Robson, yeah.
Porter. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. So I was mishearing something there. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But he basically made a whole digital festival in the browser that you had like a character, you can walk into the stage, and he added the VR functionality, so you could like visit the environment with your keyboard and mouse, and you could run in a VR headset. So I had the full music show experience with the VR headset, and it was online with people all over the globe. So it wasn't a magical experience, in my opinion, because it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And there I was with the VR headset, like watching a show on a VR environment with people from all over the globe around me. And with the headset, you have like the hands input and the head input. So it was pretty interesting because I was there and like everyone around me was like moving their heads and moving their hands, and you could see like the characters moving. So I don't know, to me, that was a glimpse of what the metaverse will be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It was a really small and rough experience per se, but the rough inputs were already like powerful enough to trigger some emotions, right? And because I love the music and stuff like that, and the whole COVID and lockdown situation that amplified it all. But damn, after that experience, I was like, yeah, metaverse is happening sometime in the future, but it's happening, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's, I think so. It's amazing. I think like you got that kind of feeling, even from maybe sort of slightly more primitive experience or whatever, but you were immersed and you could kind of forget about what was happening in the real world and, you know, be in this alternate reality.
Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like inside of your headset, it's a beautiful world, but in the reality, I was in my room like a lunatic, shaking my head and my arms like a crazy maniac. But like, I swear to God, like inside the VR headset, it was amazing. Like a really good experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite funny. So yeah, what do you, I think we're coming, you know, towards the end actually, unless there's anything else you wanted to specifically speak about. But do you have a favorite piece that you've minted so far?
Oh man, That's
And
kind of
can
hard.
I show it? Is
Yeah.
there a link to it? Let me know what it is and I'll find it.
Yeah, let me open OpenSea and look for my minted pieces. Because like on the top of my head, it's kind of hard. Of course, my latest mint that was double-sided, it's one of my favorites so far. I think that's probably my most well-done piece. But I have a lot of
which is on Foundation, right?
Which is on Foundation. Yeah. But I have a lot of love towards one of many windows. It's an older piece that I minted on Maker's Place.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a piece.
I'm going to find that.
Yeah, this was an everyday. I can send you the link. Let me try to open Twitter because I don't want to mess up Discord right now.
I've got you. I've got the. I've got your Maker's Place up here, and we'll just jump over to Foundation.
Okay.
First, because then people can kind of see this piece double-sided. Here it is, and we did sort of, and this is the animated version. Earlier on, we did see a couple of stills, a couple of kind of details of this. And are you, how much of this are you kind of modeling yourself? How are you assembling a piece like this?
Yeah, so like I'm far from
love the depth of field, by the way. So I just wanted to say,
thanks, man. Thanks.
Love that.
And the depth of field is one of the things that my old computer wasn't able to do at all. So depth of field is one of the first things that I started to do a lot once I got a decent computer, because it's actually feasible to render stuff like that. But I'm super 3D generalist. Like I'm not a amazing modeler. I'm not an amazing sculptor. All that I do is like I try to bash together and like do my best to make stuff look good. But I think that the main stuff of my work is the lighting, the composition, and the colors. So like, because I feel that some artists get too caught up into one aspect of 3D, maybe like, oh my God, I need to sculpt everything. I need to model everything. And I don't think you need to go on that route, As long as you express yourself in a legit way, you don't need to do every single little thing on your work. Doesn't make any sense.
That's a fair point. I mean, you could end up losing that creativity by kind of going down a certain route where, having something maybe that's kind of pre-made or whatever, and it allows you that flexibility to put them into the composition and start to just see the piece for what it is,
100%.
Let's just jump over to we go to Maker's Place and you can talk through.
And real quick, like one of the prime examples of that is Nets Graphics. Like most of his stuff is like pre-made assets, but the key on Ness's work is like the composition and how he builds a story around it and all those stuff, right?
Yes.
So like, there's value regardless on how you create it. Yeah.
And again, like I love his color palette as well.
Yeah.
There's a very distinct look and feel. And that's interesting. That's something that I kind of am sort of discovering at the moment as well, that artists that have a very particular kind of style that they kind of go with throughout have made possibly more kind of success. I don't know if that's fair to say, but it makes the pieces a bit more
recognizable.
Recognizable is a good word for it. Yeah. So you just know instantly, Yeah, I
really think that's important, but it's important not to get like trapped inside your style. Like it's important to evolve it like over the course of your career. So like, thankfully I'm known for my color palette and my lighting, maybe. Since it's two aspects that are flexible enough, like I can do my colors and my lighting regardless the topic of it. So I feel there are some artists that got really quote unquote trapped inside not only the colors and the lighting, but the theme around their work. Like they only do super cyberpunk stuff, or they only do super like organic stuff. And it's like, it's cool and all, but like it's important to develop your work and like expand in a way that it's not trapped inside your style, if that makes sense.
No, that does. That makes sense. And yeah, that's definitely true to say. Let's just jump back into Maker's Place, because you were talking about a piece, and it was your possibly your favorite piece, I guess. Your favorite piece that you've minted. So
yeah, it's one of those. That? Yeah, it's one of many windows. It's like the second one. There's a girl in the window. Yeah. And this is interesting because like this showed back in February, I believe. This is interesting because this was an everyday, so it's a super quote unquote simple piece, quote unquote easy to do, but like it was done in an everyday. So I probably did this piece in an hour and a half, 2 hours, but like the emotions of it was right after the lockdowns down here in Brazil happened. And I was in my room a lot, and there's a window right on my side. And it was interesting because like around like 7 p.m., I used it to go to my window and look at other buildings and windows. And I found a lot of other people hanging on their windows as well, because it was pure lockdown and no one knew how to deal with that. So it was this feeling of loneliness and trying to connect over windows. And like, it's a simple piece. It's super simple piece. I did this in an hour and a half, but like it captures an emotion. It captures like a feeling that was important to me at that time. So I thought it was like cool to mint it on the blockchain and make it there forever.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. And did you have a conversation with the collector?
100%. Like I always try to do Zoom calls with all my one-on-one collectors, all of them. And Freeze Right Chief was a super nice guy. He loved hearing more about the whole colorblind stuff that we talked about earlier, and the theme of the piece and my life in general.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. Well, it's been amazing getting to know a bit more about you. And I think, on that note, we're going to kind of wrap this one up. I think that's, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. People who are here in our Discord and who've been attending this, I mean, thank you so much for listening to us talk, and hope you've enjoyed it. You can claim an exclusive OAP for this.
Have a poll,
and these will be available shortly after. So I wanted to just come back and just say big thank you to you, Fesq, for making the time for this, and I really appreciate that. We've managed to have that. Is there anything else that you want to mention? Anything where can people follow you and learn a bit more?
Well, if people want to follow me, I am Fesq everywhere. On Twitter, on Instagram, or iamfesq.com is my website. So feel free to check out my work. My DMs are always open for anyone that wants to chat. Note that sometimes I ignore people. I probably ignored you at some point, Andy. And it I'm sorry, dude. Like sometimes a lot of messages all around. Like my days go from chill to pure madness real damn quick.
Yeah, it's the freelance life.
Yeah, the freelance life. So sometimes I end up ignoring people, but I don't mean any harm. It's like, sorry. But if in any case I ignore you, please drop another message and ping me about the chat that I will try to reply as soon as I can.
That's super nice being so open. And I think, that's awesome, dude. So well, thank you very much. And thanks to our community for supporting the Playing Arts project. And I think all that leaves me to say is that you're Fesq. I'm Andy Needham. And I'll see you in another episode of the Playing Arts podcast.
Thanks,
everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.